What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video. I really do hope everyone is doing well. Now today I'm going to be building, with these components, a $1,000 gaming PC build for 2020. Make sure to get subscribed if you aren't already, but let's get into the video. I'm going to kick things off by installing our CPU into our motherboard. Now, as you can see on the very snazzy overhead camera angle, this here is the MSI B450 Tomahawk Max. What's really great about this motherboard is it lets us install our CPU, the Ryzen 5 3600, without the need for any BIOS updates. It's going to work straight out of the box. PCIe Gen 3, an M.2 slot and 4 RAM DIMMs also cover us for a bit of future-proofing and upgradability and that kind of thing. I'm going to install our RAM into our motherboard while it's out and easy to access, and for this I went for a white kit of Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro. I'm hoping the white is going to add a little bit of contrast in this build, and the RGB on top will tie in nicely with the rest of the components. Installing your RAM is super simple. Line up the notch on the RAM with the notch on the motherboard, and it will simply click into place. It really is super duper easy. Repeat for as many DIMMs as you've got, and just like that, you're off to the races. Finally, I'm going to pop the CPU cooler onto our motherboard. I've decided to stick with the stock cooler in this case because it's enough to cool down the 6 cores and 12 threads of this powerful Ryzen chip, while also leaving more money for stuff like our graphics card a little bit later on. Now, normally this will come with pre-applied thermal paste, but because I've used it before, I just need to apply a little bit of a fresh blob. Once the motherboard assembly is nicely complete, we're going to move it into our case. And this here is the Corsair 220T. We've got 3 RGB fans up front, a nice tempered glass side panel, and it's pretty affordable, especially considering how much Corsair cases can cost. To make the installation easier, we're going to lay the case flat like so, and move any of these light cables and stuff nicely out of the way. You'll want to remember as well to install the I/O shield before screwing the motherboard in, otherwise your life's going to get a whole lot more painful later on. Our motherboard and case are now all kind of ready to go. Before I proceed and install our graphics card and the power supply and stuff, I'm going to plug in a couple of our front panel USB and HD audio headers. If you'd like a super step-by-step guide on this, check out my beginners how to build a gaming PC build tutorial for 2020. It goes over everything in the tiniest of details. The next component today is of course the graphics card. Now this is from MSI, it's their RTX 2060 Super. Given some of the driver issues with AMD Radeon cards at the moment, I firmly believe this is the best choice for a build at this price point. But I will do more AMD builds if you guys are after them, and let me know in the comments section below. Either way, this is a really great graphics card with a whole load of really great features. Not only has it got ray tracing support, meaning games like Battlefield 5 and even the new free-to-play Call of Duty Modern Warfare Battle Royale are gonna look sick. Even if you're not bothered about ray tracing though, it's one of the best cards out there for 1440p gaming, and even has a bit more power than you'd realise at 4K. But more on that a little bit later. With all our components coming together nicely, we're going to pop in the power supply, and I realise I am waving these scissors around quite a lot. That's because this is actually brand new. A big thanks to Corsair for managing to get me one of their power supplies. Given the current global situation, it's quite difficult to get deliveries in, so a big thank you to Corsair for really helping me out on that one. Either way though, it's a great power supply with 750 watts, which is kind of ideal for this build and does leave room for upgradability. It's 80 plus bronze certified, meaning it's pretty efficient, and all in all, just does what we need it to do, so no complaints from me. Alrighty then, with pretty much everything installed, all that's left to do now really is pop our storage in. I might also add in some RGB Corsair fans at the top and back, just to glitz things up a little bit, and a $10 addressable RGB strip. I'm also going to pop in our SSD. This is the Sandisk SSD Plus. It's not the fastest SSD in the world, but it's way quicker than any of the hard drive options. Plus, it's pretty affordable, has 1000 gigs of capacity, which is going to be plenty for your movies, music, Steam and Origin libraries. If you're a bit of a hoarder of games, you like to have 1000 installed on your system, pick up a 2TB Seagate Barracuda in addition. That's going to give you loads and loads of room. But something like this for most people is a perfect solution. So let's get this installed, get these installed, and then see just how good this system looks when it's all powered up. So then, it's gaming benchmark time, the bit that you're probably waiting most eagerly for if you're actually looking to build this system and put the thing together, or if you want to see just how good or bad I am at most of the games on today's list. I pretty much benchmarked everything at 1440p, it's the sweet spot resolution for a 2060 Super tier of graphics card, with high or ultra settings. Apex Legends 1440p high settings saw 112 FPS give or take average. It did drop sometimes below 100, kind of bottoming out at 84, 85, and likewise peaked at around 148, 149 frames per second. That basically means even with a 60Hz monitor, you're going to notice a really smooth, great gaming experience. Or people always say in the comments, but what if I run it at low settings? Well, if you run it at low settings, you're going to be getting 170, 180 FPS at a best guess, especially at 1080p. Moving on to Fortnite, I'd say the arch rival of Apex Legends. Which team are you on? I'll put a poll in the cards. Apex or Fortnite? Let me know. Here at 1440p epic settings, we're seeing around 94, 95 FPS average. Got a couple of kills in as well, which isn't too bad. I do prefer Fortnite, I think, to Apex. It's a bit more fun, a bit less realistic, and maybe the inner child in me likes that. A game I do really like on today's list is Forza Horizon 4. As always, I ran the benchmark because it gives a really easy, comparable result. You want to switch to one of my other builds, see how it performs in Forza Horizon 4? You can do so. 1440p epic settings was around the 107 FPS mark, or ultra settings I should say. I'm clearly playing too much Fortnite. Next up on the list is GTA 5, an old favourite of mine, an old favourite of everybody's. Who hasn't got GTA 5 on their Steam account? 1440p very high, we're seeing 70 to 100 FPS. The render bars, as you can see from the settings, are kind of at the halfway mark. This allows you to get the higher visual fidelity while also getting a really good FPS level. The night scenes tend to be not quite so good. Scenes with more motion and more action are inevitably going to have less FPS. There's more of a deviance in GTA 5 because of the nature of the game. That is just how the game works, and that's the kind of the side effect of an open world title. Next up is Overwatch, another game I've been really digging lately. 1440p ultra settings, 125 frames per second on average. Once again, no complaints from Overwatch. The visual experience is fantastic. If you wanted to get 140, 150 FPS for a high refresh rate monitor, then jump down to 1440p medium or 1080p high and you're going to be just sorted. The next game on our list today, and the final of the non-ray tracing titles, is Project Cars 2. 1440p Ultra with my signature Dubai Aerodrome map coupled with the mighty 4 GT, and we're seeing here 1440p Ultra, 140-ish frames per second. It's quite a simple game to run and to play, is Project Cars 2, and that's why you'll see some really great playable results. I mean, 4K on a 2060 Super is still going to get you more than 60 frames per second, so if you like your sim racing, this may well be the system for you. The last two games on my list today are our ray tracing compatible titles. Call of Duty's Modern Warfare is first up, 1440p high settings with RTX and DLSS enabled. That's dynamic something super sampling, I think. We're seeing here 80 to 100 frames per second. And finally, the last game on my list today, Battlefield 5. Here you're looking at 85 or 60 frames per second, depending on if you go with medium or high settings at 1440p. Both of those once again with RTX, ray tracing and DLSS enabled. Medium settings is definitely a worse sort of visual experience in terms of the quality of your surroundings, but you do get that higher 85 FPS. If you're a really keen first-person shooter competitive player, then on the whole lower settings are going to be for you in exchange for that higher frame rate. With that being said though, I think that pretty much wraps it up for today's video. If you did enjoy it, a big old like rating, make sure to get subscribed. The channel's been growing at a mighty rate in the last week or so that is much appreciated. But as always, we'll see you in the next GeekaWhat video.